this is Brent Jensen. You're listening to No Sleep Till Sudbury, the show where we talk about the music that makes your skin vibrate. The show is brought to you by Storyfora, a media agency providing promotional videos, podcast production, and all kinds of digital content you can use to broadcast your brand to the world. Go to storyfora.com for details. All right, friend of the show, gifted musician, and all-around good guy, Mr. Blair Packham, drops by the No Sleep Till Sudbury studios this week to talk about his new record, The Impossible Dream. Here he is, Mr. Blair Packham. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Yes, Brent. Nice to see you again.
Friend of the show. I am so glad you're in my house now.
Yeah, it's a beautiful house too. It's a palatial manor.
Oh, that's nice.
To anyone imagining it, the gold, the gilt. Who knew there could be so much ornamentation?
Not quite, but thank you.
The toilet in that bathroom is Trumpian.
Solid gold.
That's right.
When you were saying that, I'm like, it sounds like Trump's penthouse or whatever. It's far from.
That's right.
No, I'm very glad that you're here. It's long overdue.
I'm glad to be here, and yes, I have lots to talk about
Good.
as usual. You'd think I'd get that out of my system, but nope. I've been saving it up for you.
But you came to the right place.
Yeah. Phew.
Well, there you go. So now you, my friend, have got a new record.
I do. It's my first record since 2017.
Yes.
It's called The Impossible Dream, and people have asked me, and I'm not even going to wait for you to ask me, people have asked me why The Impossible Dream, and it's because I'm old. I mean, realistically, making a record in 2025 for anyone at any age is challenging because the music business has changed so much. The way people consume music has changed fundamentally. And so I thought, well, why am I even doing this? But I'm not doing it I'm certainly not doing it to get signed by a label and made into a star or anything like that at my advanced age. I feel like it's a noble quest. So I wanted to call it The Impossible Dream as a nod to Don Quixote, frankly. Don Quixote, who believed in defending a woman's chivalry, that kind of thing, and who went on these noble quests to defend, his world from dragons and so forth. And I feel like making music as a 65-year-old, because that is my age, it's a noble quest at this age. I'm doing it for me, and I feel like there's some nobility in there, frankly.
I think that's great.
Because there's certainly no money. There's no money in it, and I doubt there'll be any fame, any more than I already have, which I own. I have a slight bit of notoriety, perhaps.
Certainly you do.
Yeah, well, but anyway, but I don't expect any more than that. But I do want people to hear it. That'd be great, and so that's why I'm here. I'm hoping people who hear it here will want to seek it out.
They certainly will, and you're going to play a couple. You brought your guitar with you.
I did, yeah.
So before you start, I read something about you that was very flattering, and it was said by Mr. Ron Sexsmith.
Yes.
He said, I have it written down, he said, you're one of Canada's best unsung pop writers.
Yes. Well, that's so nice of Ron to say that. He's a songwriter I admire deeply. And I've known him a long, long time, since about 1990, I would say. I admire him, as I say. So if he says something nice about me, I'm happy to receive it. He said that a long time ago, so maybe he's changed his mind since then. I don't know.
That's possible.
You never know.
You never know.
But that's nice to hear. Yeah.
You know who else is a big fan of yours, and I just spoke to him about it, is Rick Emmett.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Rick Emmett's too. And yeah, we worked together. I engineered Rick's last record, his current record, his record that's out now, 10 Telecaster Tales. And the experience was, I want to say life-changing, but I'd have to think about in what ways my life was changed. It was an unbelievably great experience because I love Rick. I mean, I love him. I don't mean that in a I love you man kind of way. I mean, as a human being, I love that guy, that person that I know. And, you only ever know certain aspects of people, but I've known Rick a long, long time. It's really the first time we worked together on a musical thing, and I was just pushing buttons. But spending time with him week after week was really very gratifying and really special. We shared a lot of stories and so forth. And yeah. And of course, as a guitar player and a writer, a composer, he's unparalleled.
Yeah. Somebody called him the other day. I was reading one of Canada's greatest musicians.
I would agree with that. I mean, I know that's a tall order because Canada has produced some really great musicians. But Rick, again, he is also on a noble quest. He's older than me. Sorry, Rick. But he continues to be entirely captured by music.
Mm-hmm.
And he continues to make new music and push boundaries for himself. Yeah, I mean, he's a truly incredible guitar player.
Oh, yeah.
He's so cerebral when he thinks about music, when he talks about music, and it's a beautiful thing to be around.
So enthusiastic.
So, yeah, I don't think that's far-fetched in any way. It's a beautiful accolade for a beautiful guy.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Okay, so before we get into the tunes, why don't you play one for us?
Okay.
What do you want to do?
Well, I'm going to do the opening song from the album. It's the opening song really because I open with it when I play live. I tend to. It's a sort of a good way of easing into the songs. It's got a bit of a bite to it. Not so. It's very gentle sounding. Of course, why am I telling you this? You're going to hear it in a second. But it has an edge to it, which is this. It's called Early Bird, and it's wherein I complain about people who get up early.
Okay.
But I want to point out, I don't mind if you get up early. It's okay if you get up early. I just mind that you feel you have to tell me about it. Because I find people who get up, it's like, how do you know somebody's doing CrossFit? They'll tell you
about it.
Yeah. Or how do you know somebody's vegan? They'll tell you. You don't need to wait. Not much time will pass, and they'll tell you. So anyway, that's my complaint. There you go. Here it goes. The early bird gets my goat, leaving the nest before the sun. The early bird is so annoying, so look at me, look what I've done. The early bird, in my opinion, is smug, superior, self-satisfied. The early bird might be virtuous, but me, I'm sleeping in. A stitch in time, the penny saved. The early bird, it's all the same. Free advice cost what it's worth. I'm living for me, not for some dumb bird. Someday I may rise with the sun, but I won't crow to everyone. The early bird may be virtuous, but me, I'm not the crowing kind. I don't cover that much distance on the path of least resistance. And I don't ever rush to procrastinate. But I resolve to keep on trying, spread my wings and just start flying. Maybe tomorrow, or maybe even today. Still, the early bird don't get my approval, my admiration nor envy too. The early bird is on my hit list, waking me up with its coo, coo, coo. The early bird might get the worm, but who would want worms anyway? The early bird might get the worm, but me, I just get mad. The early bird might get the worm, but me, I'm sleeping in. Sleeping in.
That was great, man.
Thank you. Thanks.
I love some of those lines.
Thank you. Yeah, it was. I've had people come up to me at shows. I'm not kidding.
Okay.
People who apparently the point of the song went right over their heads because they come up and they go, I just wanted to mention I get up early. And
Did you hear the lyrics?
That's what I'm talking about. Good for you. I mean, good for you. I'm really good for you. But you don't need to tell me.
No.
I've had people, one guy got really quite angry and came up to me and he said, oh, so now I have to apologize for getting up early, do I?
Seriously?
Yeah. And I said, you don't have to apologize for anything. You also don't have to tell me that you got up early.
Right.
I don't care. Good for you. And he didn't like the fact, he said, you don't care. And I said, we don't even know each other. Why?
Wow.
Why would I care? People are odd. When you're a performer, you meet all kinds of people. And when you're out in the world, whatever you do, if you're a bus driver, you meet all kinds of people.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are a performer, when you're a songwriter, people want to come and tell you about their experiences and their lives and stuff. And it's often really fascinating, but sometimes it's also weird.
Yes.
Sometimes they have a weird point of view. That's an example of that for me.
Well, last weekend that happened to Rick. Somebody was outside and we were told they were crying while we were doing the sound check. They had a bunch of albums they wanted Rick to sign, and it was a big deal for them.
Right.
So he said, sure, let her in. And it turned out to be maybe a mistake.
Oh,
because
really?
that same thing happened. She was, yeah.
It was more about sharing her story than...
There was a lot of stories told.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, that happens. I mean, I understand that. People are lonely. They're disconnected from other human beings, and maybe they project their needs on somebody, famous. And, thankfully, that's not a problem I have. I'm not famous. But Rick certainly has it. I went with Rick. I escorted him, in fact. I brought him to the Toronto Maple Leafs baseball game. Toronto Maple Leafs were playing at Christie Pitts. And so he was going to throw out the opening pitch, and he said he will not be singing the anthem. Like he wanted me to make it clear to the organizers, okay, he'll come, he'll throw out the pitch, but he's not going to sing the anthem. Next thing you know, they're handing him a mic saying, oh, come on, Rick, you sing this. But he was surrounded by people with albums to sign, like surrounded with, like there might have been 20 people there with albums to sign. Mm-hmm. Now, these guys are professional collectors mostly, and they're probably going to sell these albums. But Rick accommodated. He's a great guy.
He did. He was fantastic. Yeah.
But when you're Rick's level of fame, you're going to get accosted by people, and people are going to tell you their stories, and you have to be. I had to turn into bodyguard guy with Rick. I had to go, all right, we have 2 more minutes.
Yeah.
And I laid down the law. Rick looked at me with a smile, like sort of, okay, because he didn't ask me to do that. I just did it because it was clearly time for this to wrap up.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
All that stuff is absolutely okay. And I'm that guy.
Yeah.
But you have to be respectful of other people's time.
Yes.
And that's the thing that I don't love is that people sometimes are a little bit not aware of that. And
they take for granted that because you're some kind of figure that whose music they listen to or whatever it is. Right. And you're not a human being with, you also have to go to the bathroom and you have to leave. You have to go for dinner. You have to, you have a life of your own.
Right. Exactly.
Which is, it's interesting. I was on a podcast where they did an in memoriam segment. So they talk about people from the world of entertainment, sports, broadcasting, people who had passed. And music as well. And so when they would talk about somebody who died, who maybe maybe they were a one-hit wonder and they'd had this particularly cheesy song, whatever it was, they would joke about it. And I got mad because I'm thinking, these people died. And you're making a joke because they put out this cheesy song. Like, I don't know. You don't have to be you don't have to bow down. You don't have to we don't have to cry because they died. You didn't know them. But at the same time, maybe be a little more respectful because, these are human beings who died and they have families who loved them. And, they're not a figure that was made famous for your amusement. So I don't know. I've had other people counter that by saying, no, but they chose to be in the entertainment business and that's how we treat our entertainers and therefore, and I think, yeah, but that's just a shitty outlook.
There's a line. I mean, you can make arguments for both sides. I get that. Yeah. People who are rude to fans and don't sign all their stuff. But these people are human beings. And now I'll tell you something. Since I started doing this and seeing what I've seen, I understand how people can develop attitudes towards fans who want 10 albums signed and they have 50 million stories, just because it's a matter of respect, really, have your bit and express your thoughts, but know that this person has got other things to do. And
there are limits. Yeah.
There are limits.
Yeah. It's, anyway. I mean, again, it's not a problem I generally have. There was one of those album guys who was out to see Rick at that baseball game, that opening game, who had come to see me at this tiny gig that I play on the Danforth in Toronto, at a place called Sauce. Mm-hmm. And I'm there April 10th, by the way. And it's tiny. Like I swear, I get, 5 or 6 friends out and it feels like a party. It feels full. But he came out with a whole bunch of albums and photographs of me that I'd never seen before. Like never, I don't know where he got them. They were nice prints on glossy paper. I don't know where he got them. And I'm like, again, I'm not famous. Like, to him, I guess I was. But he wanted an inordinate amount of my time because he wanted me to sign all these things and so forth. And again, it's a tiny place, and there were some friends of mine, and I wanted to talk to them.
That's it.
And I sort of felt, because I'm not pursuing a big time career, I sort of felt, I don't have to. I can be polite and respectful to this guy, but I don't have to go farther than that because I'm not risking anything. So I was nice to him. But I said, I got to talk. I got to go.
Yeah.
And it was okay. But he was one of those guys. He was in the crowd of autograph seekers with Rick. Same guy. I think he does this maybe full time.
See, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
So, yeah. Anyway.
So back to your songs. Now, I listened to this record a couple times. I really, really like it.
Thank you.
Because it kind of matches you as I know you.
Right.
And the songs have this kind of earnest kind of brightness about them. And that's you. That's how I see you.
Yeah, I will accept that without, often people give you compliments and I, or me anyway, I might get complimented and then think, okay, what did they mean by that? And I'll try and find the thing that the insult or not but something, a flaw in me or something. And in that case, I think, I can agree with that. Like I try and write choruses that people will remember. So there's a brightness in that. Some of the songs are pretty depressing. That's the thing I worry about. But I think they're still catchy.
They're very catchy. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And they could be darker, but they're not.
Yeah.
See, and like For Joanne.
Right.
Is a great example. Yeah. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Sure.
But that's a perfect example of what we're talking about. Actually, you know what? Let's talk about that right now. So For Joanne is a song on The Impossible Dream. And I readied myself for a very sad song because there is a story behind it.
Yeah.
However, it was the opposite. You said in the song, I was going to write a sad song, but I changed my mind.
Yeah, and it was a deliberate choice. So Joanne was my girlfriend, and she took her own life in the early part of 2018, and it was awful. It was the worst thing that could happen. I was messed up. Still am. I mean, I still see Joanne everywhere. I'm at the Home Depot, and I see a woman who looks like her, and a couple of times I've seen someone who looks like Joanne, and I thought it actually was her. And in the back of my mind, I thought it was all a hoax. She didn't kill herself. She's there. She is. And I'm fine. I hope her family is fine. Obviously, she wasn't and isn't. I miss her terribly, but I did want to write a song about her. There's a song about her on my last record, but it was when she was still alive, and it was a song about loving her and longing for her. And I wanted another song on this record that acknowledged her passing, but I didn't really want to make it depressing. I wanted to make it kind of uplifting, because what I took from her suicide, I made a decision to take a lesson from her suicide. And the lesson for me is this, that I can never, ever do that myself. I can never do that because of the ripples of pain that her suicide caused everyone around her. And extending out to people she barely knew. Pain. Like it's so terrible when someone takes their own life. I just couldn't do that to my son, first and foremost, my boy Owen. For me, I decided that it was not like it's a happy song. It's not like it's a celebration or anything like that. Right. Although I could certainly write a song that celebrated Joanne, because she was amazing. She was a wonderful person, a deep soul and a big heart and a big brain as well. And I loved her, man. But I wanted to write a song that acknowledged her choice. She made a choice. And she must have been in terrible, terrible pain, which I was unaware of. But she made this choice, and it's a choice that I can never make. I've made a different choice, which is I will never, ever do that. And I'm hoping that in listening to that song, that anyone who's ever thought of that might make a similar choice, realize that it is a choice. You're not being forced into this. It's a choice that you make because you care about your loved ones and you don't want them to go through what a suicide generally puts loved ones through. Now, here's a thing that's news. The background vocals are very gospel-y on that song. It was a deliberate sort of gospel approach. Mm-hmm. And one of the background singers, Teddy Hawkins was his name. He passed this past Saturday. He died of a heart attack. And I didn't know Teddy very well, but he came a couple of times to my house, my studio in my house, to sing on some stuff. And that was one of the songs. And he was a beautiful singer, a great gospel-y R&B kind of singer, like old-fashioned R&B, not contemporary R&B, but like 60s, 70s R&B. He was a beautiful drummer as well, though he didn't play drums on my record. But when I've played music with him, his groove is monstrous. Like there's just this feeling. There are some drummers who are technical, like Neil Peart, was very, very technical and had a great groove as well, by the way, not knocking him in any way. But he could do all this technical stuff, and Teddy couldn't do that stuff, didn't want to do that stuff. When you played with him, it just felt fantastic. Like it would just sit in this beautiful place. And so making music with Teddy was really a gift. We were also aligned politically. He was very expressive about his political beliefs, and I'm a lefty liberal. He was too. And so we had that to talk about. But I didn't get to know him the way I would have liked to. And then next thing you know, he was 67 years old, 68 years old, a couple of years older than me. And on Saturday, he was in pain. He had a gig with Danny Marks downtown. He called Danny to say he was feeling crappy. And then next thing you know, his roommate called Danny to say that Teddy had died.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So Teddy's on that song, and he does a beautiful job singing it. And so now that song is, forever connected with two people that I loved. And yeah.
Commemorative.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's a long story for that song. I'm sorry. But there's a lot of story to go with it. So, yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing. Heads and Tails.
Heads and Tails is a Jitters song from my old band from the 80s, the Jitters.
So it was written in 1989, I think, right?
Yeah. 1989, it was written in Northampton, Massachusetts, with a couple of the other Jitters and Jules Shear. Jules Shear had hits in the 80s with the Bangles, If She Knew What She Wants.
Oh, wow.
And he wrote All Through the Night for Cyndi Lauper. He started the Unplugged, the MTV or the VH1 Unplugged thing. He was the first host in the first season of Unplugged.
Oh, wow.
There was a host. Then Don Henley came along and wanted to do the show without a host. Didn't see why do we have to have a host. And because it was Don Henley, they said, okay, Jules, thanks. You created this show, but now we're going to let you go. So he didn't have a gig anymore. But that Unplugged thing, of course, became a huge phenomenon. Jules wrote that song with us. He produced the album, the Jitters album. And then, I don't know, when I had a little band called The Impossible Dream, we started playing that song live. And then I decided it would be good to be on the record. And it talks about the idea of getting to know somebody. You hear, I can't make head nor tail of that person.
That's right.
They're a mystery to me. Well, it's talking about dealing with that mystery, like trying to figure them out. And it might take a lifetime. But if you're in a relationship with somebody, doing that and committing to that it's part of the deal. You got to figure them out. And hopefully you'll continue to dig them and love them and so forth after you figure them out. But, it'll probably take forever is what the song says, making heads and tails out of you.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I love the intro.
Oh,
I was trying to think last night. So castanets, which is really cool, by the way. I hear that at the beginning. But what is that? I was thinking bolero, but I don't think that's right. Like there's an old Western sound to that. What is that?
Well, there's a dong dong. There's it's a 6-string bass is what it is. It's a baritone guitar, but in my case, it's a 6-string bass acting as a baritone guitar. And it's got a twang on it. It's got some reverb and it's got some tremolo. So it's kind of like if you remember Twin Peaks.
Yes.
The soundtrack to Twin Peaks had a lot of that.
Yeah.
Doing that very thing that I just sang, that dong dong, that thing, dong 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 dong.
Yeah.
Like that. So that's the castanets. That was Mark Mariash. Mark Mariash played drums on most of those songs on that record. And he did it he built a house for himself somewhere near Guelph. And he built 2 geodesic domes. Look them up, folks. They're really interesting. And that became the house. So there's a studio in one dome, and the other dome is the main part of the house, and there's a sort of a breezeway connecting the two. So I would send him a track a track meaning all the guitars and the bass and the vocals and everything, and he'd play drums to it. So we were never in the room at the same time.
Oh.
But he would always, but I was really striving to make it sound like we were all in the room at the same time. So I think I was succeeded at that. It sounds like a band to me. But he would always send the tracks back with a couple of extra things, tambourine, shaker, and in the case of a couple of songs, castanets.
I love that.
Yeah, I did too. As soon as I was skeptical. I saw that he'd sent these, and I put the faders up, and I'm like, Okay, yeah, I see. That makes sense. Yeah, it really adds to that almost quasi-Western flavor.
Well, I was going to ask you about that because you've written these, I'm sure, on the acoustic.
Yeah.
But then how do you decide about the instrumentation that goes on each? Because on the record, it's varied. There's a nice array.
Yeah. Well, I tried to make it. The initial part of the project was to make a record that sounded like I do when I play live, which is me and my acoustic guitar. But I found that boring. I found it boring to listen to, really. Not that I'm boring, folks. Come and see me play. But I just wanted other things going on, and a recording is different from a live show. If everybody knows that they've gone to a concert and it's unbelievable, and then they get to hear a recording of that concert somehow. Somebody bootlegged it, or a live album was made, or whatever. Or you hear a radio broadcast of it, and it's not nearly as good. And it's because you're not having the experience. First of all the volume, the loudness of being in the room, the bass, the bottom end, the artist jumping around on stage, and all that stuff. The interplay between the musicians. A recording is much more flat. So if you want to make it more interesting, you got to, in my opinion, you've got to add more instruments or add more color somehow.
Yeah. Then
I thought, okay, well, I'm going to limit it to acoustic guitar, bass, and drums, upright bass, drums, and one other instrument, and one or two harmonies, and that's it. And tambourine, and it's like percussion, but percussion sort of slides in there. Nobody even really notices, except it makes them feel better. They don't, but they're not like, oh, there's a tambourine in there, that's against the rules. So, but really, I tried to not have many more instruments than that. But here and there, I slipped and I added some extra stuff. In the case of Heads and Tails, yeah, the only thing is it's acoustic guitar, upright bass and drums, 3 vocals, like the lead vocal and a couple of background vocals, castanets,
yes,
tambourine, and the baritone guitar. And for me, that's enough color.
Yeah.
There might even be more stuff. Now I'm going to get letters. I'm going to say, wait a second.
With the strings.
Yeah. There's a violin on there because, in fact, a woman.
Is it Natalie Wong?
It's Natalie Wong. A lovely woman named Natalie Wong joined my band for a time. She may still be in the band. I don't know. I haven't seen her in a while. Her relationship with my band has been very casual. Like, she will call me up and say, "You're at Sauce on Wednesday? I'll be there." And then she'll show up and she'll play beautifully.
Oh, wow.
And she'll sing as well. And she just adds so much. So I thought, you know what? I want a color on this record that sounds like no other record that I've had. I've had strings here and there on other records, but to have Natalie playing and singing on every song would be unusual, and it would give the record a sort of cohesion. So yeah, Natalie's on that song too.
So Cambridge Avenue, speaking of harmonies, there's some very nice ones on there. And I think Craig Northey from the Odds.
From the Odds, and who also wrote and sang the Corner Gas theme.
Oh, yeah.
From that show on TV, and who plays in the Stephen Page trio. Now he plays guitar with Stephen Page, but he also has the Odds. And he's in the Trans-Canada Highwaymen with Stephen Page, Mo Berg, and Chris Murphy from Sloan.
Right.
And so he's a busy guy, but he found time to sing some background vocals on my song. That song, I think, is interesting. I'm hoping it's all interesting, Brent. But I think that one is interesting because what I noticed about Cambridge Avenue is a real street in Toronto. In the 90s and the 2000s, I had friends whose relationships broke up. Several of them, I'd say, so you're moving out, you have to move, like, the wife kicked you out or whatever. Where are you going? Cambridge Avenue. I found an apartment on this street near Broadview and Danforth called Cambridge Avenue. So I got an apartment there. This happened over and over to the point where when my ex-wife, Arlene Bishop, and I'm still dear friends with Arlene, when we're breaking up, like in the moment that we're breaking up, we're both crying because we're breaking up. We're married. We have a child. It's very heavy, right? But Arlene, who has the greatest sense of humor and who I love dearly to this day, she looks at me through her tears and says, "Oh no, does this mean one of us has to move to Cambridge Avenue?" And here's the funny thing. I mean, that's funny, but the next thing that happened, and this cracked her up, I continued to live at our home for another 4 or 5 months because we had a kid, and we're wondering, we're trying to work it out, but maybe not. We don't know. But I'm sleeping on the sofa, and it's a pain in my lower back. Graciously, Arlene would switch with me every now and again and let me sleep in the bed. Eventually, she said, "It's time for you to move out. What are we doing here? And she had a point. So I had to find a place to live. I called around to some friends, and one of them called me back, and he said, I got an apartment in my basement my daughter lives in normally, but she's away in Japan. So if you want, you can stay for a few months. Where is it? I said. And he said, it's on Cambridge Avenue.
Of course.
In a basement on Cambridge Avenue. So I move into that place. I tell Arlene, and she cracked up. I moved into that place, and I kind of loved it there because it was like I was very sad, your marriage breaks up, and I loved Arlene and she loved me, and it just, we were arguing, and it wasn't good. So there I was in this basement, kind of loving it because I could hide away from the world. Well, one day I was walking home from the subway and saw a house for sale down the street. So I arranged with a real estate agent to go have a look. We went and had a look, and I liked it, but I didn't love it. But I mentioned it to Arlene, and she bought it.
Oh.
So she lives on Cambridge Avenue. So all of this is to say, I started thinking of Cambridge Avenue as kind of a heartbreak hotel kind of thing, like a place where the lonely people go, the people who have heartbreak and so forth. And so I wrote that song about it. And so it's funny. It's like a figment of my imagination, and it's real at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's not fully fiction. It's also real. Yeah. Yeah. I like it. I like it a lot. It's the only song on the record with an electric bass because it was one of the last songs, and I thought, I've already broken my own rules a couple of times. I'm going to have electric bass. I didn't own an upright bass, and I was going to play it myself. So it has an electric bass on it. So as a result, and it also has a full drum kit, and Topher Stott is playing drums on it, the great Topher Stott. And it was done in a real studio all together. And so it sounds more like a pop record, I think, than the rest of the ones do.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Craig certainly adds that quality too.
Yeah. Oh, great harmonies. Now, when it all got out of hand, I listened to that last night and I thought this has got to be about your time with the Jitters.
Yeah. It's my time before the Jitters as well, when I was 19 and first went on the road.
Oh.
And it stemmed from a comment that Tom Petty made about when he first moved to Hollywood from Gainesville, Florida. He went with his band, Mudcrutch, and was signed to Shelter Records, which was Leon Russell's label. Leon Russell, great session player, but also became a rock star, a very unlikely rock star for a while, and had some hit records and so forth. I saw him at Varsity Stadium, actually.
Did?
Yeah, and he's
nice.
sold out Varsity Stadium. That's how big Leon Russell was, and yet you'll talk to people and they have no idea who he was.
They would know his music, though, I think.
They would. Yeah, they'd know This Masquerade. They'd know Tight Wire or Tightrope.
Tightrope for sure.
And a few other songs here and there.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tom Petty was staying at Leon Russell's house when he first got to Hollywood. He says in this conversation that he had, that's like an interview he had, he said, "A cautionary tale in every other room." As you know, and then I say, as I stumbled down the hall. So he said there were cautionary tales in every other room, meaning he was seeing people having sex. The door would be open to this room. There'd be other people doing drugs and so forth. And he's just a young man from Florida, and that's what it was like for me. I'm just a young man from Toronto at that time. And in these hotels where we were playing music, I saw some stuff, the other band members, but also the residents of the hotels we were staying in, because they were not great hotels. And so there were cautionary tales in every other room. And so that led me to the rest of it. And yeah, I thought about all the music business figures, all the lavish meals and shady deals, like all the music business figures that were courting the Jitters as management types. They wanted to manage us. And one of them very proudly told me about how he was connected with all the independent record people in the States, who at that time, there was a big independent record promotion scandal going on. There was a book about it called Hitman, and it was all about the millions of dollars that were being funneled by record companies into the pockets of these guys who were connected to the mob.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they would shake down radio stations. They'd bribe them, but they'd also shake them down and so forth to play certain songs. And this manager guy who wanted to manage the Jitters, he was bragging about knowing these guys because, it's kind of a selling point to a band you're going to manage. Like, I'm connected with these guys, including the mob,
Good
and
God.
we didn't end up working with him. Maybe we should have. But yeah, so the song's about that, and lounging by the pool and learning more lessons on the road than I ever did in school. I'm quoting my own lyrics like Tom Cochrane. I've heard him quote his own lyrics. I always thought it was funny, but now I'm doing it myself. So anyway, yeah, so that's what that song's about. It's about sort of growing up maybe a little faster than you could, than you might, than you should. I don't know, but learning lessons on the road, that kind of thing.
It's always interesting for me to hear these, stories and kind of memories of when you were coming up. And Bill Wood was here a couple months ago.
Yeah, the lovely Bill Wood.
Yeah, just a fantastic guy.
Yeah.
But even like, Rick and a couple of the guys that Killer Dwarfs told me stories about, I grew up in Sudbury, a place called the Brockdan Hotel, and they were like, the Brockdan? Oh man, we used to drive motorcycles down the hallways and just like stuff like that. I'm like, holy crap. Right?
Oh yeah.
So I always love hearing those stories.
Oh man.
I mean, the ones that we can share.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, there was one of my first times on the road. We arrived in Kirkland Lake in the middle of the night. We had driven up in a panel van. So all our gear and our luggage and 4 people in a panel van, not one with windows, but a panel van. And I was literally, not kidding, lying on the speakers in the back on the top with my nose about an inch or so from the ceiling in the winter. And so I was in that van for, 7 hours?
Yeah.
We stopped once. And I wriggled out of the space, but really it was, when I think of it now, I think I did that. Like I did that. So we get there and it's, by the time we get there, because it was the night before we were supposed to play. So it was a Sunday. So I guess we left around 6 p.m. It's in wintertime and it's dark already. And we get there at, 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, whatever. And it's an old man hotel, meaning it's not a regular hotel. They don't have regular guests. It's just the bands that play there, old men who are down on their luck, and the strippers who might be appearing at that hotel that week. This would be 1979. We get out and we're like half asleep and grumpy, and we've got our bags, and we go to the front desk. There's a guy sleeping behind the front desk. We wake him up, and he's not happy to see us. But he's like, yeah, okay, we'll get you a room. So he sort of wakes himself up, shakes his head, and starts leading us up the stairs. And he's just a little bit ahead of us, and suddenly we hear this commotion. Is it okay if I swear?
Of course. Yeah,
all right. Well, we hear this, motherfucking bastard. We don't know what it is. It's not him. And then this Tasmanian devil of a guy, a little person, comes tumbling down the stairs, like pushing past us and swearing the whole time, and so forth. And we're all, like, it's in the middle of the night. Now we're awake. And we're just standing there. And one of us says, who was that? And he goes, never mind him. That's Pee-wee. He sleeps in the stairway.
Oh my God.
Like as a regular thing. And this is one of my first times on the road. And I'm like, what? Like, really? This is what it's going to be like? I literally thought it would be kind of glamorous.
Oh God.
So yeah. Well, I got a million of these stories, man. I mean, and I wasn't on the road that much at that time. Really, it took me about a year to figure out I didn't want to do that. And then I got a job in a recording studio. But the stuff, the stories, about other bands. You'd also hear about other bands.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I heard about, I won't even share those stories, but that they would be slanderous. But other bands and the way they treated their fans in some cases.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'll tell you off the air.
All right.
Or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'll remain discreet. Anyway.
Okay. So do you want to play us out with something?
Yeah. And I want to say this too.
Sure.
If anyone is listening to this and thinking, oh man, I'm not going to go see that guy. He talks too much. Come and see me play. My stories introducing the songs are much shorter. So, yeah. But I will tell the whole story for this.
Do it.
That'll do. In 2016, I was hired to work on a cruise ship, which isn't as fun as it sounds. I always think people are imagining me as Captain Stubing on the Love Boat, with a white uniform and so forth. I wasn't, but I was the sing-along guy. That was my gig at night.
Okay.
And in the daytime, my job was to help passengers get on and off, in and out of Zodiac boats. This cruise went from St. John's, Newfoundland to Greenland.
Oh.
So it was an adventure cruise. It certainly wasn't, the Caribbean or anything like that. Among the places we visited were these abandoned, relocated villages. They were Moravian mission towns. One of them was called Hebron, and it was in northern Labrador, and it had been relocated by the Newfoundland and Labrador government in the early 2000s, I think. Well, no, in 1959. There was an apology made in the early 2000s. It's important to note, because the relocation happened in 1959, and it was a disastrous effect. The families were moved all over farther south in Newfoundland and Labrador. They weren't welcomed in their new communities at all, and it was generationally damaging to these families. The Newfoundland and Labrador government made an official apology in, I think, 2002. There's a plaque there that notes this, and on one side of the plaque is the apology, and on the other half of the plaque is the acceptance from the Inuit people and their descendants as well. It ended with the words, "We forgive you," which was so powerful to me in that moment, in that village. It was a beautiful place too, by the way. But it was just uneconomical for the people for the government to, support the people there. So they moved them. They just moved them without much of a plan. And the fact that they could say, "We forgive you," was so moving to me, so powerful to me, because I was really thinking, even in 2016, and I think it's more true now, in 2016, it occurred to me, we need more of that, more forgiveness. And I think we need even more now. So anyway, I wrote this song that day. It was the quickest song I've written, I think, in a long, long time. I wrote it and I played it on the ship that night.
Oh, wow.
The Inuit people in the crew of the ship, I got hugged and cried to by a number of people. It was really moving.
That's fantastic.
So, yeah. And there was an author. I'm sorry it's going on, but just another thing. There was these cruises, they feature artists like myself, also sculptors and novelists. And Margaret Atwood does this cruise regularly.
Oh.
Various legs of these cruises. They go through the Northwest Passage. They go up to right up into Rankin Inlet and so forth. It's quite a company, actually, Adventure Canada. And on this cruise was the Newfoundland author Lisa Moore, who is formidable. And I was stuck for a chorus for this song. Like, I didn't know what to make, the center of the song around. And she just looked at me and she said, "The land we knew by heart." And I was like, "Yep, okay." And I went back to my cabin and I finished the song. Kudos to Lisa Moore. I heard a story on a ship off the coast of Labrador. It's not my story, but it needs to be passed on. So forgive me, if you will, my mistakes in any details, as I try to speak for others in this song. My name is Nakasak. I come from Labrador, the settlement called Hebron. Hebron Bay was my shore. All my days I'd hunt and fish, working with my hands, and I loved to play the trumpet in the missionaries' band. In the spring of '59, the announcement made in church, the plan they called resettlement would ease the public purse. They took us from our homes by signing a few pages, and soon we left our ancestors in the Torngat Mountain ranges. From the land we knew by heart to a land that's unforgiving. Back home we had a life. Down here we're barely living. The easy arrogance of others forced us to depart to a land that's unforgiving, from the land we knew by heart. No homes in which to put us, no one's waiting arms in welcome. The food was scarce, and what was worse, families were badly broken. Lost, alone, and lonely, we wintered in our tents. Our children lost their language, we never had a chance. From the land we knew by heart to a land that's unforgiving. Back home we had a life. Down here we're barely living. The easy arrogance of others forced us to depart to a land that's unforgiving, from the land we knew by heart. Walk the beach at Rama and see bear tracks on the sand. Well, they will wash away soon enough, as we were washed from the land. But our spirits prevail, because our pride is strong. We will forgive, but we won't forget, as time goes on, and we go on and on. From the land we knew by heart, to a land that's unforgiving. Back home we had a life, down here we're barely living. The easy arrogance of others forced us to depart to a land that's unforgiving. From the land we knew by heart, to a land that's unforgiving. From the land we knew by heart, to a land that's unforgiving. From the land we knew by heart.
Bravo, my friend.
Thank you.
That was fantastic.
Thanks.
Beautiful.
Thank you. I had to close my eyes all the way through because I will forget the words if I get distracted.
Really?
Yep. After all this time.
No
It's
way.
the weirdest thing. So not always, but if I'm playing, I play at Sauce, as I mentioned, on the Danforth, April 10th. Starts at 8, goes till 10, no cover charge.
Try the field.
Yeah, and there's parking on the street, folks. People who aren't from downtown Toronto get freaked out by parking in Toronto. It's okay. Go around the block. A spot will open up.
Street.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's fine. But anyway, when I play there, yeah, sometimes somebody will look at me funny and it'll throw me off. It's
No way.
yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't know what it is, because at this point in my life, I've played a lot. I've played live a lot.
You and I are playing, a couple feet from each other here.
Yeah.
You're playing, I'm listening. But as a performer, do you like to make eye contact with the audience?
I
or
do.
You look away, or do you?
No, I look at the audience. I sort of scan the audience. It's funny,
Yeah.
notwithstanding what I just said. In fact, I'll sort of scan, but I'll do it in a sort of general way. If there's actual meaning going back and forth, if I've been flirting with somebody, and then, the woman's smiling at me or something, I might get flustered, like, who knows, So, but I like to, I just sort of think, like, what do I like when I see a performer?
Yeah.
And I like a performer who feels like they're engaged. It's funny, you and I were talking before about David Wilcox. David Wilcox, who I was a huge, huge fan of, and still a great admirer of his. He used to look at the audience in the eye when I first used to see him play. But then later, when he became the guy that everybody else knows, because I used to see him before when he wasn't sort of fully formed, I guess. But he would make sort of faces. He just made these weird faces, and it didn't feel, he felt otherworldly almost. And that's cool for him, and obviously people liked it. But for me, I tend to prefer somebody who feels like they're actually looking at the crowd and they're actually there.
Yes.
And there's less of a wall between they're not a video, they're a live act. And I want to feel like they're in the room. We're in the same room together.
Right. There's an engagement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when I think about that, actually just thinking about that now, I've seen Paul McCartney a bunch of times.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a huge Beatle fan. And the idea that I've been in the same room as Paul McCartney kind of freaks me out. Never met him. I know people who have. I'd like to meet Paul McCartney before I die. There you go. Not that I'm planning on dying anytime soon, but if you can arrange that, Brent, I would.
I'll get
right
you both on
that.
the show. Yeah, you
Give
guys
him a
can
call.
play together here, right on the sofa.
That'd be nice. Yeah, he could accompany me
Yeah, why not?
on my songs, because he's written a couple of good ones, but I got a new album to promote.
Erica was on the show.
Yeah.
And she told me the story about before she was on Much, she met Bono, like when they were nobodies. I think she was a DJ at Chom, is it Chom in Montreal?
Chom.
Yeah, Chom.
Yeah.
They were nobodies. They were in town. They were touring.
Right.
And she took them around in her mom's car. Right. And they said, what's fun in Montreal? And she was like their kind of concierge almost.
Right.
And had a great deal of fun with them. And Bono was like super thankful and they loved her. And when she was on Much and they were Joshua Tree U2 now.
Yeah.
Moses Znaimer told her that she could not interview U2 because he didn't want it to be weird. He wanted it to be professional.
Oh.
And so she was so disappointed.
Yeah.
She said, I have
an actual
a
connection.
line into these guys.
Yeah.
Why would you not? And he said, no, I don't want that.
Wow.
I want an unbiased, take. And I thought that's so terrible.
Yeah. Well, how disappointing for her.
All this is to say,
Yeah.
I said, well, Erica, easily fixed. I'll just get Bono on the show.
Yeah.
And then you can, so we joked about it. But I did send a note. Somebody gave me a name, I think, and I sent an email and the person responded.
Oh.
Yeah. And they said, how many downloads does your podcast get? And I sent it back and they said, we're really kind of busy, so I don't think we can.
Right. Well, at least you got an answer, though. That's kind of amazing.
So it's this close.
Wow.
How funny is that?
Well, with this, with the addition of me as a guest, of course, your downloads will go way up, and then Bono will.
Through the roof.
Yeah. And Bono, of course, will then acquiesce. Whatever.
All right. Listen, thanks for being here today. It's been a great conversation. I love having you over. You know that.
I appreciate very much being on the podcast, and I love seeing your home and love hanging out.
Come back for dinner.
Thank you. I will.
Yeah, do it. All right, Mr. Packham, this has been Brent Jensen and No Sleep Till Sudbury with my very special guest, Mr. Blair Packham. Till next time, folks, take good care.
Brent Jensen is the best-selling author of No Sleep Till Sudbury, Leftover People, and All My Favorite People Are Broken. All titles available in stores and on Amazon worldwide.